You got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast, where, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but it's not limited to, Jesse. What's poppin', baby?
What's up, buddy?
How you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm chilling.
It's beautiful outside.
Yeah, it is. You mentioned that you drank a whole cup of coffee. Is that something that you normally don't do very quickly?
No, it's just these lattes. They put a lot in there, and then I made my own coffee this morning. So we're starting to hit that.
You're on your second coffee.
At least.
Well, yeah, right. That's like 2 cups in one. Probably had a few at home, so
We're getting close to critical mass here.
okay, we'll be all right.
Jesse, why oat milk versus just regular oat milk?
Oh, here we go again.
Well, for me, it's just because my body doesn't process milk very well, and I try to save Ashley the pain of dealing with me.
Of your flatulence?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was back in the Melissa days, there was a great oat milk debate.
There was.
Really?
Well, you can't milk an oat, is my stance to begin with.
Well, they don't have many nipples, that's for sure.
Right. No, it's honestly, I'm just like, I'm the worst when it comes to this stuff. I just can't like let something fly.
If they called it something else, would you be okay?
No. That wasn't. I was joking about that.
I know you were. But
it was that she said how much healthier it was than real milk, and it's just like, all right, well.
Well, the thing is, they are 2 completely different things.
Yeah, one has xanthium gum in it, and the other one has protein.
Right.
Actually, I had a period where we were making our own oat milk and almond milk and stuff. We got a nut milk maker.
Yeah.
So then it didn't have any of the preservatives, which felt really good because it was kind of like the last piece of the preservative puzzle. But now I'm just
don't you need like
back.
a ridiculous amount of like almonds to like actually produce enough like almond milk to use it?
Well, we just put it in our coffee, and occasionally Ashley baked with it, so we just needed like a little ball jar worth of it.
That's enough for one serving?
No, it'd be like 4 or 5 days. But you don't really want to.
No, but like how many nuts did it require?
Yeah.
I don't know, like 30 almonds or something.
Oh, okay. That's not terrible.
Yeah,
because you mix it with water, you throw like some vanilla extract in there.
Yeah.
Xanthium gum.
I mean, that's like whatever. We're just calling everything milk now. It's just fucking oat flavored water and almond flavored water.
That's what I mean. It's just like you just throw the word milk on it. It's like it's not
as a milky.
Just because it has a similar texture.
I was way too critical of it though at the time, because like this is the same annoyance that I have when people like start to rip me to shreds on things that may have like some downside benefit but also have like a lot of upside. Like stevia is a good example. Natural sweetener may come with like some side effects. Like I can't remember if it promotes diarrhea or inflammation or something. Like there's some studies saying like there's some downstream effects that aren't great, but it's just like it's not sugar. That's pretty important,
right?
Yeah,
from a fucking leaf.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I can't imagine whatever the hell is in those ghosts could be like. There's got to be a lot of junk in there.
That probably
just has to.
Yeah.
Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe.
Yeah, but like
I would assume.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
But my stance on this has loosened a lot over the last 10 years, in the sense that I think for a long time I was only listening to nutritionists, and it took me longer than maybe it should have to realize that like they're very limited in their knowledge of both science, biology, and all the things alike. And generally, like they're not even that sharp when it comes to nutrition itself. Like they're very. I'll never forget. I hope she's not listening to this, but one of my friends graduated with a nutrition degree, and she got into a huge argument with me about how Mexican Coke was better for you than regular Coke.
Is it the corn syrup argument?
Yeah, the corn syrup versus sugar, and it's like, I mean, you may be able to frame an argument around that where it's somewhat
Like
true.
natural sugar is better than
Right, where it's like somewhat true,
Yeah.
but it's so negligibly true in this instance when you're talking about like a chemically produced soda that, you know, it's like we're talking like the 99.9th percentile difference between
Yeah.
the two, and they're
It's
both
like, is
just
menthol cigarettes better for you
Right.
than the regular?
yeah, right. So, you know, anyway, fast forward, like I've spent a lot more time listening to the science side of things, and you just kind of realize that, like, sure, there's a big difference between natural versus you know, made in the lab or whatever, but like synthetic, yeah. But at the end of the day, like, everything is a chemical. Everything like breaks down to its chemical form. And it's like, if you don't think that I'm going to fucking eat meat that was curated in a lab when it comes out, you're wrong. Like, I absolutely will be snacking on some fucking lab-made bison.
I mean, if they can make A5 Wagyu, you know, mass-produced at cost, you know.
Right.
I mean, well, now we're talking.
Right. It's like, you know what? Maybe there are some downstream effects, but so is breathing. You know, why don't we just, like, let's
Better
focus...
stop breathing because there's chemicals in the air.
Yeah, let's just focus on bigger problems instead of, like, all the micro stuff. Like, get the plastics out of my fucking brain. Like, this is the new wave stuff that, like, Rhonda Patrick
That's what I'm
is
saying.
researching.
You're a macro guy.
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah,
just
you're
saw
not a
something
micro-
about not microwaving your food in plastic
plastics,
containers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that for a while. Yeah.
Rhonda Patrick's really, like, heading the charge on this where, you know, she's a research scientist by trade.
Mhm.
And what? This me?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh.
Good job.
No, it's not me.
Coming out of your speaker.
Yeah, it's you.
Bet you.
Oh, it's Twitter. Hello, Twitter.
Hello.
Hello, Twitter. Thank you for joining us today.
We know at least the sound works on Twitter. So.
The sound is working on Twitter. I didn't even know I had that open.
Have you guys seen those charts where it's like each soda type and brand, and then how many donuts worth of sugar
No,
is in each
but,
one?
but like when you equate it to donuts, you really
Bro,
start to do
donuts
some cost
become
benefit
so
analysis.
much healthier in your
Of course,
mind
of course.
when you see that. Like
And it's
3.5 donuts per soda. I'm definitely having a
Really?
donut.
right, and
Yeah.
it's like what kind of exchange are you actually giving up in the long run here? It's like, I didn't really want that pop all that much, but man, if I could have a half dozen donuts instead,
Yeah.
That's insane.
yeah,
They're also probably deep fried.
well, whatever, not the cake ones.
No?
I'm in the minority here. Apparently, like, no one likes cake donuts. I think that they are busted.
I'm not really sure what a cake donut is.
Not a fried donut.
Okay.
You know, the kind of like smaller ones that have the smaller hole,
Okay, yeah.
tend to be
Right.
frosted.
Right. I gotcha.
Or cinnamon sugar is a very popular cake donut.
Wow,
Like
look
what
at
they
that.
serve at Pink Box.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Not all the Pink Box donuts are cake, but Pink Box has more cake donuts than like Dunkin', for example.
6 donuts per Coca-Cola.
Insane.
That's
wild.
a terrible trade-off
That
if
is
you
wild.
choose
Come
the
on,
Coca-Cola.
whoa, you're telling me that a donut only has 12 grams of sugar? I will add donuts to my diet tomorrow.
Yeah, but you got to understand. Like I
What
said, like,
fucking donut only has 12 grams of sugar?
12 grams of sugar, 50 grams
oat
of
milk donut.
carbs, and 100 grams of fat.
No way.
Maybe not 100 grams of fat. That's
No way is there only 12 grams of sugar in a donut. It's a donut.
yeah.
It's on the internet, Matt.
It is on the internet. That's
Well,
that's tough to argue.
If you
against.
think about it, there's not much sugar in the actual dough itself,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Okay, so like it depends on what you put on the donut.
Well,
It's just a little bit of glaze.
a little bit of glaze.
I'm just saying, a little bit
little
of
bit of
powdered
gla-
sugar. 12 grams of powdered sugar.
let me tell you what's
What
in
does
the
12
glaze.
grams of powdered sugar look like?
Let me tell you what's in the glaze.
Sugar.
Powdered sugar.
Okay, yeah, it's true. It's just it's powdered sugar mixed with water.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking powdered sugar milk.
Right.
I think they're definitely being facetious because the picture has like a full frosting on top, which can't
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
make sense.
Like,
But
come
you
on,
could find some 20 gram. Ooh, look at
20,
those.
12
looks
grams of
so
sugar. Find
delicious.
pick me the one that has 12
Right.
grams of sugar.
Here's the thing. Not all
Bro, is one of
donuts
those
are
a
made the
heart
same.
pattern? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No, you're good.
you see this heart pattern donut?
That's
it-
nice.
Not
Heart-
the
heartbeat,
The
yeah.
heartbeat, yeah. That's strong. I wonder if they're implying that your EKG will suffer.
That's what
Should you eat this
That's what
donut?
it'll look like soon as
Right.
you eat
I'll
it.
take the mystery yellow one with no hole.
Yeah, that's the.
That's
the one
definitely
we're
a
talking
Boston
about.
cream. It's for
You
sure
think?
Boston cream.
Oh.
Yeah. That's my read. You know.
It's filled with something.
I like just
Probably
a good
sugar.
old fashioned chocolate glazed donut. Those are
Yeah.
good
I'm not-
stuff.
I'm
Like if you took
really
like
into
a
glazed.
Krispy Kreme, just one frosted Krispy Kreme donut, maybe
Yeah.
12 grams of sugar.
I'll take the over.
It's got to be right.
It's got to be over.
It's like
it's got to be over.
how many grams of
20.
sugar in a can of pop? like-
65.
No.
Well, 20 ounces.
Okay, 20 ounces. Yeah, like I was
So
thinking 12 ounce
45,
can.
45 in
Yeah,
in
sounds
12?
about right. 40, 45. Damn, that's a lot.
We just grew up on that shit.
I know. We just drank it like it was.
I
didn't
used to
even think
take
it. Yeah.
I used to take RC Cola to baseball practice. Who let me out of the house?
I was about to say I would
The
leave
fuck?
basketball, go get a soda, and come back.
Right.
Yeah,
That
like
was my only hydration.
Mm-hmm.
who was watching us as kids? And then they would be like, "Oh no, don't eat the hamburger for lunch because it has cholesterol in
Right.
it."
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Can't have. You can only have 2 eggs a week.
Yeah, but go nuts on the fucking Pepsi.
Right.
We were a Pepsi house, Conrad.
I was
Just so you
I
know.
was a Coca-Cola house.
Wow, and now here you
I mean,
are.
Coke and Sprite.
You say like who was watching us? Well, it was the government that was pushing like all that the sugar's fine and fat is bad.
No, it was my grandparents.
Well, because they listened to what the government told them, right? The agricultural
I think they
big
ju-
ag is what
Yeah,
what drove this.
I think they also grew up in a time where fattening your family was a way to show love.
yeah.
You know?
Sometimes, well, when winter comes,
Right.
you got to fight the famine.
Those Pittsburgh winters are no joke. All right, what are we looking at here? Glazed donut from Krispy Kreme. 10 grams of sugar.
There you
Fuck
go.
you.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's go.
See,
No way,
you've been living a lie.
Do they have a Krispy Kreme out here? I think we
Sure
should
they
hit this
do.
place up on
Yeah.
the way out of here.
It's only 200 calories. I mean,
For one donut.
this is not.
You're
that
probably
bad.
thinking you can do that challenge now.
I'd crush the
Yeah.
challenge.
See.
Is this the 12?
if you could-
6-12?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's a good challenge.
If you can find a way to substitute alcohol for something, anything,
Right. All of a sudden, 18 donuts doesn't seem like too bad.
whatever, 3,600 calories.
That's what I'm saying.
I
Especially
don't-
after running 24 miles.
yeah.
That could be a very
Be nothing.
special
You'll be
podcast,
hungry after
Berkey.
it.
Let's see
Just
if we
you
kick it up a
completing the
notch.
challenge.
I could do the challenge, I think.
Oh, it's only 50 more calories if you get real sexy with it.
Yeah, but it doubles
The problem
sugar.
The problem is being able to find an equivalent for the alcohol for you.
Right.
Like it's just I can't imagine.
I
what
think
it could
caffeine
be.
is the most reasonable, but I
It's
can't.
not though.
I just can't
It's just
consume.
not.
Well, you crash out over 1,000 milligrams.
Yeah, but not like you crash out over fucking 12 beers.
No, it's worse. It's worse. Like you need a hospital.
Oh, you almost need hospital too.
Like you need
Yeah,
a
the alcohol
you need a
poisoning.
fucking crash cart once you start to get to like 1,200 milligrams of
That's
caffeine.
true. That's true. You could literally, yeah.
Fucking heart
Both of them could
palpitations.
kill you.
That prop bet is really a young man's game
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons.
Well, yeah.
The 6 is the toughest one.
Yeah,
And that's what people don't
That's
understand.
a young man's game right there.
Yeah, they don't understand. They're
Why
like,
are you just assuming we're choosing 6 for that?
It's gotta be. Come on.
joking.
It's
Turtle's just going
it's not
18.
even
Let's go,
debatable.
Turtle.
It's not debatable.
you got to get to
point.
completion.
Turtle's like, I ain't
Turtle
running
turned into
24
a hare,
miles,
let
so.
me tell you.
If you
I'm a rabbit now,
if
baby.
you use performance enhancing drugs, little blue pill. I've never dabbled, but like, do those allow you? I understand they allow you to stay hard longer,
Right.
But do they allow
it's
you to
not
complete?
that it necessarily gets you to the finish line.
No.
Right. Right. So
Right.
you're just stuck.
Yeah.
You're just stuck with a tool
Yeah.
that is unusable.
Correct.
Yeah, but you'll have a great 24 miles. Like-
What would your order be?
I don't know, because I hate running.
Well, we know what the 6 is. So what is it? 12 after that?
12 would probably be beers, I would guess.
I think that's the right choice.
I think you have, yeah, like anything over 18 beers, like there's no shot I'm running at all. I guess it would have to be like 24 donuts, 18 miles, 12 beers.
Yeah.
I think that's how you have to do it.
I think it's, yeah. I mean, like, look, there are many, many, many instances on record of people running 24 miles in a day.
Yeah.
There are almost none that I know of guys getting to the finish line 12, 18, or 24
I feel like the
times in a
24
day.
donuts is back in play,
I think so.
right?
I think
Like,
you're right.
because
5,000 calories over the course of 24 hours.
right.
Totally.
Especially
doable.
when you're-
Especially
when
if
you're
you're eating
running.
them while you're running. Yeah. Like
You
your carb.
guys have a
like your
terrible
carb loading.
strategy.
why do you say you guys?
Because you've hinted along the same.
No, I didn't.
I think you have to
know I
run
did not.
before you start
I did
eating
not.
donuts,
I
so you're
never
gonna-
hinted that at all.
Well,
Not that it's a bad strategy.
I
I'm
think
just saying.
everybody is right to some degree. If you're going to run 24 miles straight, if you're just going to put in, 80% of a marathon, 90% of a marathon, then you will need to refuel along the way.
Right.
And the beer and the donuts could help you with that. You need the salt from the beer for sure. It would be helpful. There's electrolytes.
Oh, man.
And the donuts would be great. Sugar's I don't think great when you're running because it dehydrates you. But yeah, like if you had a plan, I could see you knocking off 6 donuts and 6 beers, or maybe 4 beers and 6 donuts, something like that over the course of the 24 miles. But I think that's just like the least efficient way to complete the challenge, unless you just have no interest in utilizing all 24 hours. Like if it's a race to the finish, like how fast can I do this? Not
Yeah.
I have 24 hours
Right.
to do this. Then sure, you should knock each one out
Yeah.
in excess, like as quickly as possible. Get some beers and donuts in while you're running because they're fuel, that helps, and then just like interval, knock out the rest. But if I was spreading this out over the whole 24 hours, I'm just taking like a 3-hour block, 8 times, and I'm just gonna hit some miles, hit a jerk. Catch a quick jerk, eat some donuts, and drink whatever my equivalent of alcohol is, and then maybe hopefully catch like a 15-minute cat nap at the end. Just turn around and do it again.
You could just stuff your face with donuts while cranking it and fulfill a new fantasy. That might be a... Who knows, man?
I think you're telling us a little more about yourself than the audience cares to know.
I
Jess.
mean, if you want to
There
get
are a few
creative, there's a
people-
lot of things you could do.
I'm sure there's a few people out there who actually don't know what this challenge is. That didn't see the previous episode.
That's fair.
Probably
That's fair.
wondering what the hell we're talking about.
It's the 6, 12, 18, 24 challenge. So you have to choose your poison of running miles, eating donuts, drinking beers / I guess you could substitute shots, but alcohol, and then pleasuring yourself. And
to completion.
To completion. We've all come to the conclusion that the 6 is defaulted. No one has argued otherwise except for people who are full of shit.
Right.
But the 12, 18, 24 is under heavy debate. A lot of non-runners out there want to do 12 miles. You do 12 miles, do 24. You're calling 8, you're calling 22. Like it doesn't matter.
Man, that's twice as long.
It's twice as long, yeah, but like 12 miles is, I promise you, however hard you think 24 miles is, 12 miles is going to be the harder part.
You know what I'm realizing though? You could wake up, get the 12 miles in, and then just spend the rest of the day eating donuts and drinking beer and maybe
That's
pull
what
it off.
I
That's
said.
like kind
That's
of a
what,
reasonable.
that was my strategy.
Yeah.
My strategy
Yeah.
was to get 1 or 2 pumps in the morning.
Sure.
All right, and then have a couple donuts, and then do your miles, and then just come home and drink beer and jerk off all day.
Yeah.
It's a normal turtle day at that point.
Just wait. Just
throw some donuts in there.
Typical Saturday.
Just wait till mid-afternoon when you're fucking.
You said that.
When
You
you're
said that so
exhausted.
casually, man. It sounded
Yeah.
nice.
When you're exhausted, you're crashing out from all the sugar. You're half blacked out with beer dick, and you gotta fire off 4 more times.
It's gonna be rough.
It definitely would not work out the way it does in your own mind.
Yeah.
For any of us, really.
Right.
Like it's a very hard challenge for a reason.
So the inverse of this was a discussion that we had in the group chat today. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Do you think it's possible for any single able-bodied human on the planet to reach 10% body fat if they tried?
Wait,
Like, do you think biologically it's possible for
anybody,
literally
you're saying?
anybody to reach 10% body
No.
fat
No.
without the aid of steroids or
No.
gear or anything like that?
Look, you're saying like
I
you
think it is possible.
You think you could grab somebody like from like my 600-pound life and just have them get to 10% body fat?
Assuming that they're not 600 pounds based off of some sort of biological reason.
They're
able-bodied. They just like choose to be fat.
So
Right.
you can like wave a wand and give them all the motivation that you would need.
No, that's a whole other discussion here. Well, okay,
You're saying is it physically possible?
that was the intention of my question.
Yeah.
Was biologically, are we all close enough where genetics don't matter and anybody who tries can get to 10%?
That I don't know.
Well, there's people
Well,
with
wait,
actual.
what were you saying otherwise? You said yes initially.
I didn't understand the question. I understood it as, is this possible? And I would say yes. If you look at marathon runners, like they're probably already in the low teens. Like,
Why would you choose an extreme athlete to prove your point?
like I said, I must have misinterpreted the question. I thought the question was, is it possible? And my answer is yes. Of course it's possible.
But why would you choose a marathon runner? Why not choose yourself?
I would choose a marathon runner because they're already closer to being.
You're definitely misunderstanding the question.
He's saying that any able body. So
I'm not asking, is it possible for a person?
So somebody that's 250 pounds right now, can they get 10% body fat?
It would be very difficult.
Okay, my contention is that biologically we're all not similar enough, then genetics matter. Not every able-bodied person could just get to 10%.
That's what I tell
I'm
myself
on
too,
your side
Berkey.
with that, Berkey.
I just think it's like a ludicrous statement.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have abs.
Yeah,
so
same.
if you threw this person into a room and just threw them chicken breasts and water for a year, 2 years, like they just wouldn't get there?
I don't think so.
Huh.
And that's actually the best way of framing it, because what I was trying to illustrate with this example, the original question was, can anybody become a winning poker player? And I also contended no. I said you know the game sorts and selects for people that have qualities that allow them to potentially win, and then from there's still a lot of variance and things of that nature. The way you framed it, Guapo, is perfect because you're controlling for a very specific variable, right? You're controlling for diet. So now you can reframe the question and say, with a perfect diet, can literally anybody get to 10%? And the answer should unequivocally or very obviously be no, because if a perfect diet existed that allowed you a path to 10% with a really, really, really high success rate, then we would know about it. But like it's abundantly clear in the nutrition industry, the science industry, or the fitness industry, all of these adjacent arenas, that there's no one size fits all solution to these types of things. And the reason being, and the reason why I paralleled this to poker, is because the body is an incredibly complex system. Much like poker is an incredibly complex system. Like when we try to break it down at a mathematical level, we have to control for so many variables that it's almost impossible to even run sims. And you know, the body is very similar when you're talking about training and things of that nature. When you're dealing with complex systems, there is an illusion of control that we actually don't really have, right? Because there are so many variables, you cannot control for enough of them. Mm-hmm. So if you control for diet, if you control for fitness, if you control for lifestyle, if you control for all of these things, and you have a small sample group where you're able to do that, what you weren't able to control for is, you know, somebody being born with a metabolism that is 4 times more efficient than the next guy. Somebody being born with a testosterone level that is 1.5 times average compared to the guy that's average, and so on and so on and so on down the line. So because there's no uniformity amongst the subject, there's no way to apply these sweeping statements to a population.
So anybody can obviously reach their peak fitness, but
Exactly.
you're saying that that peak fitness is not.
It's unique to that individual.
High, yeah, right.
What I was trying to illustrate is that it's important to highlight things that are difficult and impressive within complexity.
Right.
When somebody is excellent at poker, that should be highlighted as an impressive thing to accomplish. Mm-hmm. When somebody is 10% body fat, that should be highlighted as an impressive thing to accomplish.
Well, it's
not
relative
just
though, right? Like, because like it's impressive if someone's 10% body fat. That's just in someone's 20% body fat. It's equally
to the average population.
Equally impressive.
I'm saying compared to the average population.
Oh, okay.
Right? These are extremes on the bell curve.
Right.
If you look at the entire population mapped, when you find somebody who is a 10 big blind per 100 winner, they are unique. They're in sub 1%. You know, when you find somebody on Earth who is 10% body fat, they're unique. They're in the 99th percentile. I think I read a stat the other day that said something like 3.5% of men in the world can bench press their body weight. But we just take for granted that that's not that big of a deal. Because if you sort
3.9%,
3.5% or something like that. But if you but we don't think it's that big of a deal, because if you sort for people that go to the gym, now it might be like 65% of men can bench press their body weight.
If you're not out there
Not
bench
even,
pressing,
probably.
yeah.
Oh.
Do you think more than half the people are going to the gym?
No, I'm saying people that do go to the gym.
Oh, I see.
Right.
It's all about how you qualify the population that you're pulling the sample.
If you go to the gym and you bench press a couple times a week, you're probably
going to get to bench your body weight.
Right, exactly. If you're just someone who never does, you're just not going to be there.
It's so easy for us when we're a part of a population that you're scrutinizing, and you're constantly evaluating yourself and your peers around you. It's so easy to forget about the big giant world that exists outside of that. So like, I think people often project this level of control because they measure themselves as the barometer. Like, well, I think I could get to 10% body fat. And if I could get to 10% body fat, literally anybody can get to 10% body fat. It's like, well, that's just not how that works.
Right.
If I could become a winning poker player, literally anybody could become a winning poker player. It's like, that's not the way that it works. Complex systems already filter for a high barrier of entry, right? Like, it's not like you could just pull random off the street.
And like, when you say winning poker player, obviously that's, subjective. I mean, it's there's a spectrum there.
Sure.
Right? Like you could be like you said, you could be a 10 or 12 big blind per hour winner, or you could be a 2. It's different.
Well, also you could be a winner in like some unbelievably soft game, and just that soft game. And does that make you a winner as long as you only play in that soft game?
Counter
or are you a winner for 12 hands because you focused really hard and actually played?
Well, my counter would just be the objective way to look at that would always be via sample. So it would basically just be like, could you be a winning poker player over 100,000 hand sample?
I would take it even a step further and say most highly intelligent people aren't capable of being a winning high stakes poker professional. And it's not because it's impossible for them. I used to think about this a lot, especially when I was like peaking, playing like big games and doing really well and stuff in poker. And like, why don't more people do this? And it's like, well, most people are just so risk averse that they just won't enter this world in the first place.
It's also, it's hard. It's a lot of work, right? Like, there's a lot of people. Like, if you're of reasonable intelligence, and we're talking about like lower stakes, you put the work in, I think that you can become a winning player, right? But that's different than saying how many people can actually thrive at high stakes or like in a very competitive realm.
The big thing I was trying to dismantle and poke holes in, because I think that it's a narrative that gets pushed a lot by influencers, and I think it's a bullshitty one, in spite of the fact that I wholeheartedly regard it as like one of my guiding principles in life, is that discipline can allow you to accomplish anything. It's just not true. I'm sorry, it's truly false. Like, I would be remiss to not acknowledge all of the advantages, all of the head starts that I have, where when I apply discipline to those head starts, I get to achieve something, right? But like, I can't just say I'm dedicated to running a 4-minute mile. Maybe a bad example, a sub 4-minute mile, whatever the records are,
right? Because there's physical limitations.
Of course,
right.
And it's so obvious to people when it's physical limitations, right? It's so obvious to somebody if they are a 5'3" female that they're never going to dunk a basketball, and nobody would ever say, well, if you just dedicated yourself to it, perhaps you could, right? Because the physical limitations are so obvious in observation. It's one simple variable that you can see right out of the gate,
No human being can jump 8 feet in the air. So
I mean, Muggsy Bogues was 5'5" and could dunk, but like the point, it's not nobody. It's that it's so improbable that it's not a matter of dedication. It's a lack of height. That's obvious, right? What you guys were describing, where you're saying like not every intelligent person could make it at high stakes for risk aversion reasons or difficulty and stuff like that. The people who believe that it's just determination and dedication would poke holes in that argument and say like, well, they just need to get over those things. And what I would counter is saying is that there are so many variables that will allow you to fail that it does not matter which one becomes your failure point. It's just a very high probability that one of them will do you in. So whether it's risk aversion, whether it's money management, whether it's a lack of study, a lack of comprehension, a lack of execution, there are just so many endless variables. And then throw on top of that just sheer variance, right? Like you may catch the worst distribution of your large sample in the early goings, and that prevents you from ever reaching the long run, right? There are just so many parts of a complex system that can allow you to succeed or to do you in that are completely out of your control, that it's silly to me to somehow, project that, well, I'm here and I'm a winner because I wanted to be. I was determined to be. No one was going to stop me from doing it. It's like, you were picked. Largely, you were chosen by the system that you entered because you had certain advantages. You were pre-selected for certain advantages, and then luck fell in your favor. And like this goes all the way back to the survivorship bias that we did a whole episode on. It's impossible to ignore. Like in infinite alternate universes, I may make it as a poker pro once. That's just the nature of it.
I think you'll make it more than once because I do think that there's something to be said for how much you love it, that you have more stick aroundness than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like
you're speaking to like the things that you're pre-selected for.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
So like I'm not arguing with your idea that like people are pre-selected in some way because of the certain factors, but in the same sense, you're pre-selected to have a much higher success rate because you're just willing to take more beats and more downswings and just like pick yourself back up. Whereas other people, especially like really highly intelligent, capable, like hardworking people, be like, screw this, man. Like I'm just going to go do, I could do something else that I don't have to deal with this variance and just like getting crapped on all the time.
That was my counterexample I gave too. I was like, we could just look at like the litany of people who are brilliant.
Yeah.
That tried poker, did not make it, and are running a hedge fund somewhere right now.
Yeah.
It's just like they're going to be pre-selected for so many different high value industries that are mostly going to be complex systems. And it's like in that instance, it's more fruitful, I think, to just spread yourself out and give yourself as many opportunities as possible to kind of like hit the ground running in one of the complex systems than it is to try to dig through the current complex system that you're in and figure out which variables you're failing at. Because like if you get feedback that like you're failing at a dozen of them, or you get feedback that like you're failing at one, but that leads to a failure at like dozens of other potential variables within the system, it's so hard to course correct. Like if you're for instance, most people think that they're failing at poker because they don't have funds, right? And I hate to break it to you, that's just not the case. Like, yes,
it has to be one
that's
variable.
a hurdle. That's a hurdle for sure. And off of that splinters dozens upon dozens upon dozens of other ways that you're going to fail. And what it should expose, or what it will often expose, is failure in the mental model, failure in the risk model, failure in the work ethic model, or maybe none of those things. Maybe you're super well prepped in all of those, and it truly just is the money factor. But you can never know until you can start to control for these things. Mm-hmm. So unless you're able to wake up tomorrow and suddenly be fully funded, and then see if like you're still crumbling under the stress of feeling like you have a scarcity mindset and like all these other things. Point is that it's like impossible to actually zoom in onto one particular characteristic and say like, if this were different, I would be successful. That's almost never going to be the case. And there are countless cases of people who claim that like it's just the lack of funding that has fucked them over, that then get funding and continue to fail. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, okay, well, it wasn't the lack of funding, then what was it? And it's like all of these other things that you were already failing at that led you to have a lack of funding, but you hyper focused on the macro thing because that was the one that was solvable. right?
And by the way, if it's lack of funding that you think is the sole issue, you already inherently have another issue in terms of like there is funding available out there, and people will like it's more scarce than in the past, but like people will work with you to see like what knowledge you have currently, and decide if like you're worthy of an investment. And some of those people are very smart and very precise about how they do it, and so at the very least, you're not pushing yourself to go out and find those people hard enough, which I get. Like I get the reasons why people don't.
There's millions of them.
Yeah, like there's a big ego thing there. There's a lot going on, but like so you already have a couple things that are strikes against you in that department.
So, another way that I've seen like what I would consider to be some of the best poker minds that I've come in contact with just utterly fail is that they kind of fall victim of believing that they don't know enough yet. So they can't execute because they have no interest in actually being in the arena itself. They're so good in the lab. Like they're so good on paper that they want to spend more time delving into the thing that they're getting positive feedback from, right? Rather than going and playing and having to deal with the variance of random outcomes dictating whether or not you are a winner or loser for that day, that month, that year, whatever short-term sample you're looking at, right? And I've seen like failures like this across the board where it's like, I would put my entire bankroll behind this person if they would just apply themselves, but they can't get over the hump of the fact that in the lab, they're perfect or they're striving towards perfection, but it poisons their mind into believing that they're not there yet and they won't be ready for the real world until they are there, until they can get a 99 on the test instead of a 92, right? Not recognizing how much the returns are diminished by continually spending hour after hour after hour.
That extra percentage point is not going to,
Yeah, just like digging into the minutia of spots and being able to speak eloquently about the game, but not actually being able to go out into the wild and handle a 5-way pot, right? It's like their whole brain just shuts down.
Well, there's also this factor where when you play against the trainer, I don't know, personally when I play against the trainer, I don't even look to see if my hand would have won in that particular hypothetical scenario.
Right.
I just see if I got the right answer and then I move on, right? But in the real world, every hand you see if you won or not because you're playing poker.
There's an emotional response.
And then there's an emotional response, and then a number of other things happen, and then all of a sudden you're playing a little bit worse than you would normally have. And you don't get that weird feedback loop. So as soon as you get that when you play poker, it feels bad, and then you're like, oh, I want to go back to like working on my game before I come back to this. But really, you're just never giving yourself enough exposure to the problem that you actually have, which is dealing with that negative feedback loop in the first place.
Right.
It's not your skill set. It's a completely different skill set. Your ability to deal with like not just tilt, but like sort of your own lack of confidence as soon as that tilt sets in.
It's like observational bias, right? Like that sets in and it now clouds the thing that was controlled for in the lab.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with that in the lab because there's a control there, right? Like it's irrelevant. You're just getting points on a test. To parallel this back to the 10% body fat equation, you know, if you start to map 100 people setting out to do this, let's say they all start at a similar point. They're all like 20% body fat. They're all trying to lose half of their body fat over the course of a year. And you start to map this and you see the way that they all splinter off at different points, right? One guy hits a plateau 4 weeks in. Another guy hits a plateau 8 weeks in, right? Like you can program protocols for what happens when this stuff happens. But, you know, remember that if you're running this sort of experiment, you are just going to execute on the control the entire way. So you're going to continue to just give them whatever their pre-programmed macros were, whatever their workouts were. And maybe you'll tweak a little bit here and there, but you're going to have it because it's a complex system, you have to deal with chaos theory. So it's like these little tweaks here and there may yield a very small change at the end or a monumental one, right? Like literally just maybe adding 5% carbs back into one guy's diet might yield him getting to the 10% as opposed to getting stuck at 15. But adding that same 5% carbs back to somebody who might be a little bit more sensitive to it might yield him having a reversal and packing on fat in some sort of capacity. It's just so demeaning to the system at play to just believe that it's just a matter of education and willpower to achieve these things that clearly, when you look at a population of people, are unique.
It might be better to say that on an infinite time frame, everyone could at some point in their life get to 10% body fat because
you could optimize. You'd have be able to optimize.
Yeah, you just don't have enough time to experiment with every single thing and find your perfect.
Like in who knows, 20, 30 years from now, AI might be able to do that for
maybe
an individual person could find their
I don't even know if
peak.
I think the pushback is that,
or is it you're still constrained to
you're just still constrained to your biology.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to say I don't even know if you still could make it.
I'm not getting you taller.
Right. It can get you to your peak. That's the thing.
They got those medieval
It can get you to
man.
your peak, but your peak might not be 10%. It might be 15.
I think that's precisely it. Is that we're taking this number and we're assuming that it's well beneath everybody in the population's peak form.
Right.
And I would argue that it's well above.
Mm-hmm.
There's an arbitrary number out there that everybody's capable of achieving. Maybe it's 20, maybe it's 22, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But the point is that I do believe everybody could break through the 10% barrier with enough time and science. So anybody who wants to manipulate their body with gear in the right way for a long enough period of time with some dedication will get to sub 10.
Well, you still have people who have genetic disorders that cause them to be massive.
I think you're saying that aside.
I'm trying to.
Oh, okay.
We would keep out the genetic freaks like DK Metcalf who eats candy and is 2%,
Right.
and we would keep out the other side of it of people who have palsy or some sort of disabled that allows or disallows them from being a part of the
I'm
group.
assuming there's adaptations as well. You would think. I don't think they're called Eskimos. Sorry, I don't know the
Inuits.
Yeah. I'm assuming that over the last 200 years, they're probably biologically more.
They're fat adapted.
Correct.
Yeah.
So their bodies are just different than someone who lives in.
As a population, they've been in ketosis for forever. That's the control group that people study when it comes to ketosis.
Because they just don't have access to carbs.
They mostly eat fat.
Right. Because it's
they're very fat adapted. Culture, they mostly eat seal blubber.
Right.
Wow, the dream, man.
Seal
Just
blubber.
in ketosis all your life, and as soon as people get old and cranky, just send them out on an iceberg.
You just said people eat seal
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I think you'd like it if you tried it.
I mean, I probably
tried
would.
it?
I eat a lot of sushi.
No, but I assume I would like it.
I eat a lot of
Did you say I eat a lot of seal shit?
No, sushi. Sushi.
Oh, sushi.
Sushi.
I gotta tell you, man, sushi and seal, I don't know that fits the same category.
Sashimi? Whatever?
Sashimi is tuna.
It
Sashimi is raw
It's
fish.
Raw
dummy.
fish. Okay. But again, we're talking fish. Seal is a mammal.
Yeah.
It's a land, it's a land water creature, I
It's
guess.
like eating a puppy.
Not
Well,
exactly.
all right, let's. I mean,
Sea puppy. Sea
seals.
puppy.
they are sea puppies.
Yeah.
You're not totally wrong.
No.
I wouldn't want to hunt it.
No.
I wouldn't club it over the head. If somebody gave me some seal blubber, I mean, it's got to be close to beef tallow. Can't be that far off. Beef tallow is nice.
Oh, it's good.
You ever had French fries in beef tallow? Donuts in beef tallow. Now we're fucking talking.
Okay, now we're
God.
Now we're
behind
back.
this,
Now
really.
we're back on board with the. All right,
So instead of glazing with an actual glaze, you're just gonna
Just
put
beef
Wagyu tallow on
fuck
it?
yes, that would be so good.
Yeah.
That would be so good.
I mean,
I don't put syrup on my pancakes. I just put butter. Delicious.
Yeah.
I'm reading a
Sweet,
list
savory.
of land water mammals that we eat: ducks, beavers, geese, platypuses.
Did you say
frogs.
mammal?
Beavers?
Did you say mammal?
Yeah.
Then you said duck.
They're foul.
People are eating beavers in the non-innuendo sense.
Did
Is that real?
land water.
It's okay.
Just come at. Never mind.
Okay, but animals, mammals aside,
Yeah.
we can all agree none of this is sashimi, right?
No.
No, we have to
None of
agree.
it is sashimi.
Okay, good. All right, I'm glad we got there. mission accomplished for today's Only Friends podcast. We have come to understand that neither seal nor duck qualifies as sashimi.
All right.
Or as Conrad would say, sashimi.
Actually,
Sashimi.
not all, because crab is on there.
Okay, well, crab, I'm not going to fight you on. I don't know.
Crab is nice, man.
I don't know about the crustaceans.
Yeah.
I've really come around to. I always thought of crab as a less tasty lobster. I was just eating the wrong crab, I guess.
Yeah.
They used to call
it king crab.
You know, they used to feed lobsters to prisoners. Called it the cockroach of the sea.
Yeah, they
for
did that a
poor
lot
people.
where I'm from. Actually, they had to make a law that they could only feed them something like 4 times a week because they were getting sick from eating so much lobster.
Wow.
If you think about it, like lobster's delicious, but if you don't have butter and you're eating that stuff every day, it would get nauseating.
Yeah,
for
probably.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true.
Yeah, it's not like you got a nice little drawn butter and some little like lemon to squeeze on it. It's just like they're getting chopped.
All right, while we're talking about Nick Airball's back this Friday.
Back where?
He's back on HCL after serving his 1-year ban. He recently did an interview with Poker.org.
Wait, what did you get banned for?
Well, it's in the interview, Jesse. That's a great question to ask. He said that he passed some chips to other players, loading them with cash, and that's against casino policy. He received a 1-year ban for that starting last March, but it ends this week. And he's coming back to a hell of a lineup. It's going to be Airball, Keating, Peter Brittany, Charles, Humboldt Mike, who I'm not familiar with, but I feel like I hear that name getting thrown around a lot. And then the judge, Steve, who plays in my game every now and again. He's always fun. He min bets every fucking street. It's the most tilting thing on the planet.
Wait, is this the guy who kind of like has odd, not mannerisms, but like kind of messes with people?
Yeah. He loves it.
He's entertaining.
He's so rich that he's just there to annoy you, pretty much.
He's messed some people up too.
Yeah. He loves to just like break flow and bet one big blind.
Nice.
With like
This is what Guapo does. This is Guapo.
Yeah, but he doesn't like just do it. He does it like while speeching you to death. They're like, oh wow, that
That's
dude,
also what Guapo does.
That's also sounds like me.
that dude couldn't have done anything for you. Here you go, $100, sir. It's like, I'm sorry, what? I'm just gonna treat that as a check.
Giraffe Ganger or whatever does that as well. So you're in good company, Guapo.
There you go.
All right,
See?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
He's like, it works every time.
You, Graph Ganger, and the judge just min betting away.
People hate the min bet, man. They really don't like it.
You're telling me I come on here every week and Berkey makes fun of me for being in the min bet.
So what are your thoughts of him making his return? I guess you probably don't have many since you didn't know he was gone.
I actually just saw like some compilation video of him playing on the lodge the other day on YouTube.
He's a part owner there now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Him and Rampage.
Wow.
They bought in.
Nice.
You can give your thoughts on that too if you like. We're here to hear from you.
I need time to collect my full thoughts
You need
about
to
this.
process that one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. It's a choice. It's definitely a choice. I mean, obviously this lineup will be entertaining to say the least. So I think this is really good for Airball in the sense that you get to make this triumphant return, and it won't be like all of the pressure is on him to kind of like lead the charge. You know, they're not throwing him in there with like Mariano and 7 nameless faces.
You think he was in the lab all year? Just
yeah, for sure.
Really grinding,
putting that 100K of coaching to work that he got from.
So he's ready to come back as a killer.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, you called him a fish, so we'll see.
Big sushi, big sashimi,
Fish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we forget like he wasn't on streams for all that long prior to the big disappearance.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he wasn't even around during the
Jack 4.
The Jack 4.
He had played like maybe 6 or 7 times, and one of them was him getting a suspension because he was
belligerent drunk.
Yeah, he was asking Ling Ling about her cock in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Jesus,
don't do that. That's a no-no.
Shout out to Ling Ling, by the way.
I remember that. So him getting really drunk was kind of like his.
It was his shtick.
It's his MO.
Yeah, but it was almost like his what was it called? Like his arrival party.
Right.
whatever they call that in Hollywood.
Yeah.
His breakout. His breakout.
I don't
Yeah,
remember seeing
that's
him
wild.
drink on stream that much afterwards, right?
I remember him
He
drinking
swore
a lot
off
of
drinking.
wine at
That
the
makes
Poker
sense.
Go
Yeah,
studio.
Yeah, the Poker Go Studio was a special one.
Right.
That was a real coming out party for Airball that day.
It would make sense that he swore off drinking because I don't remember seeing him drink that much.
I
on
don't
live
think he
streams.
drank on HCL after that.
That makes sense.
At least not very much. But again, like that time frame was very short. It was like
A
the
year.
The Lingling, the Lingling thing happened maybe a month or two before Jack 4, which happened like last week of September 2023, I think. 2022?
2022.
2022. Okay. Yeah. So Garrett is out of HCL by like mid-October. Airball is in. So that timeline then runs from like mid to late October through the heads up match versus me in like mid to late April. So you're talking like 7 months? November, December, January, February. Yeah, 6-7 months. And then shortly thereafter, by like May-ish, no, that's not true. He didn't get banned until March 2024. So there's this like
There's a gap in between.
there's this like 9-month gap where he wasn't really playing the show that much, but like had the ability to, I guess. I think it's because he was kind of on his Taylor Swift tour. You know, he was playing Poker Go, playing the Lodge.
Right.
He was kind of getting out there. He was also licking his wounds a bit from the $1 million heads up. And if I recall correctly, he was playing a ton of private PLO.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure he's playing private and
Playing a lot of private PLO. That was whenever he came out and said that on the Vertucci podcast that he was on a $5 or $6 million downswing or something like that. And that wasn't happening in the public eye. That wasn't happening on Hustler. It wasn't happening on the other streams. The vast majority of it was in these high stakes PLO games. So then fast forward to March 2024. He had been around the scene now for like a year and a half, but you know, wasn't Garrett, wasn't like a Friday staple in the same regard. Then he gets banned and vanishes again. So like now another whole year without really any Airball site. It's kind of crazy. In 6 months, he like lit the world on fire. And then over the next like 2 years, just kind of vanished.
Do you think he's going to like hit the ground running as the old Airball that we know and love? Or do you think he's going to be a new, improved Airball?
Speak for yourself on the no love. I think he'll be the same.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, like why change anything up?
Well, I think Brian's point is that he doesn't have to do the antics anymore. You know, and I think like if you are listening to feedback, it wasn't like people were celebrating him for it all that often.
Do you think he'll be an improved player?
No. I'm very
Okay.
confident I can say that.
He had to think about that one.
Yeah.
Do you think the $6 million downswing is a real thing?
Yes.
Like I'm not like saying I just don't know. Like when people say stuff like that, it's like I always kind of go immediately towards who is funding this.
Yeah, that's a fair question. I mean, he lost $1 million to me alone.
And we know that's real.
Yeah, well, that was tangible.
That happened really quickly too.
Right, we got our hands on that one. And you know, I know that he was playing the biggest PLO games over that summer. At Aria, you know, him and Charles were really gambling pretty high. So if he lost another $1 million or $2 million just that summer alone, like very plausible. I think it's, as somebody who's delved into a $5 million downswing himself, I can tell you, you could do it.
Yeah,
It's possible.
It's definitely.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. Yeah, it's just tough. It's like I don't know. I guess I'm not really connected with that world enough to understand. There's like backers out there who are just handling $10 million.
Yeah,
swings.
the funding aspect is a bigger question.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was in the midst of it, there wasn't a whole lot of high stakes poker. And there certainly weren't many pros that were finding their way in. So even still, like funding was not, thank you, Guapo. Funding was not an easy thing to secure. Like I knew a lot of people in business outside of poker that were interested in taking a shot on me and also just like having a sweat. So it's like, maybe that's the case. I mean, you know, we know he has a background in Macau and living in China for however many years when he was going to NYU Beijing, I think. So maybe he's just like linked up. Like it's very feasible.
True. I don't know. Yeah, that whole world is very. I just think about like some of the richest guys I know, who are, to be fair, they're from the U.S. or Canada or whatever. They're from this side of the
right,
which is a different culture when it comes to gambling for sure.
Yeah,
and they would be hard pressed to go on like a 4 million plus downswing or 3 million plus downswing with someone who's like actively splashing around pretty heavily all the time and not have like at least a lot of questions. Like obviously like the pitch is like, hey man, like I'm splashing around, but I'm in these great games, so it's worth it. And it's like, you probably throw in like it's somewhat controlled, like it looks really chaotic, but it's not. But after some of these situations and these hands and like these heads up grudge matches and stuff, you might have some questions.
I'll say this. He had to be very secure with his funding wherever it was coming from prior to the heads up, because that certainly was a derobing, if you will. Like that was a moment where he was fully exposed. And I'm not trying to say that as like a pat on the back for myself. Like I didn't do anything special. Any decent poker player that understands the game would have done the same. And it was just like abundantly clear that he does not fundamentally understand the game very well. So like if you are funding someone like that, millions and millions and millions of dollars, that moment you realize you're funding a VIP.
Yeah, but that's like, I mean, you could say
Call
like,
them
hey,
option
that's
players.
heads up, like maybe he's a much better understanding of ring and heads up isn't the same thing. And
I don't know, man. I don't think it's possible to make the errors theoretically that he was making and understand ring game. Like,
I mean, I don't know the hands, so I'm not going to argue you on that. I'm just saying like it would be easy to,
I guess you could
see the other side of
things.
that. Yeah, like if your skill set is understanding people and what they're capable of and who bluffs way too much when you're in like these softer lineups, like who bluffs too much and who never really bluffs these certain spots. If you're good at that kind of stuff, then I think that's probably a more important skill set than being really technically savvy.
Yeah, but like I'm not technically savvy either, right? This isn't about being a technician. This is about just like simply understanding how money goes into the pot, when it's supposed to, when it's not. I agree with everything that you're saying, but it sounds more like an argument for like, well, if you know what beats what, then you're winning in this type of environment. And I think that that's probably less true, because if that were true, then the VIPs would be doing a hell of a lot better than they are. Sorry, I don't mean to diminish your argument down to those basic terms.
No, that's fine. It's just more, I'm not arguing whether he's good or bad. Like I've never played with him. I haven't watched that many hands.
Yeah.
I'm more saying I could see from the perspective of a very rich whale backer.
Right.
Like hearing that he lost a heads up match and being like, oh, well, that's heads up, whatever. And he'll make it back in these other games and he's good at these other games. Like I could see framing that so it's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
Whereas like in your mind, it's a really big deal and it's like defining, but I could see it being.
It's the difference between investing as a qualified, like being a qualified investor versus somebody who just has money and wants to gamble. Right. So like, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. If whoever is funding him just like doesn't really know poker, then it'd be really easy to just like write everything off as bad luck. Like I'm just running so bad. Here are 5 hand examples where I got it in with 60% equity and didn't win, that type of stuff. But as anybody who is like a qualified understanding of the game, you're never going to get distracted by flips that didn't go his way or even 80-20s that didn't go his way. It's just going to be like more, how did these pots get built? And where did the money go in? How are you profiting in this game? And I think it probably stands to reason in the majority of the games, even the softest ones, he's probably just not. Like we're having JRB on tomorrow. I think this will be a fun question to ask him.
JRB on tomorrow? That'll be fun.
It's gonna be great. This will be a fun question to ask him because he was telling us on stream about, maybe it wasn't on stream, so I don't want to speak for him, but basically like how well he does in the private games if he just didn't play PLO, right? But like for years he convinced himself he had an edge at PLO, And then he like did the numbers, and he's just absolutely getting obliterated at PLO. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like, that's the way things work. Like if you can't articulate how you are taking advantage of a game, like if you can't articulate where your bottom line is coming from in a very specific way, not in a this guy sucks, therefore I make money type of way, right?
Yeah.
Much more so in a, well, when we get to river and the pot's big, this guy never has a bluff, therefore I get to play perfectly against him. Or, this guy just doesn't put enough money in when check two on the river, so I never have to check call type of stuff. Things of that nature, right? Like those are very clear indications to somebody who's qualified of like, okay, yeah, I see where there's win rate in this aspect. And then you just take for granted, like, okay, well, the population as a whole like doesn't continue versus C-bet enough, so I make money there, or they don't continue versus 3-bet enough, so I make money there. And like you just understand the small ways that a good player will redline. If the person that you're investing in can't do that type of stuff, can't explain the game in those sort of terms, you're in trouble. Yeah. Because you're definitely dealing with somebody who's just gambling on your dime. And that's scary. But, it's great for the viewers. And we're fucking back, baby.
Yeah, we're here for it.
We're
so back.
Airball said his plan was to play $1 million pot.
Yeah, that's
the 50K min.
That's terrifying to hear also if like you're funding him. Of just like, he's going into a 200-400 game and he's like, yeah, today I want to play $1 million pot. Mm-hmm. Like, wow. I want a blowjob from Christy Turlington. Fuck out of here.
I just watched that.
What, a blowjob from Christy Turlington?
Is that Rounders?
Yeah, Rounders, yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of something else then.
It's whenever he goes to Kanish and asks him, he goes, I need money. I mean, I need whatever money you got. Yeah. And he goes, I need a blowjob from Christy Turlington. Get the fuck out of here. 15,000.
It's a great line.
They're talking 15,000. We're talking 1 million.
Right.
I'm sure you guys have covered this subject, but have you watched Severance yet?
I have not. It's a shame Landon's not here. He's been aching.
Oh, I got him into it.
Yeah, he's been aching to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. So this feels like a cheat code, but they have John Turturro and Christopher Walken in the show, and they interact a lot. And it's like, dude, that doesn't seem fair.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I mean, it's a great show anyways, but like your show's going to be good if you have
those two. A couple of zany
interacting.
Guys,
Yeah, they're just so absurd. And they're not being that weird either. They're just acting. But great.
For how long his resume is and for how many great films he's been a part of, I truly think my most favorite.
Walken or
Walken. Well, I mean both of them, but for Christopher Walken, I think my most memorable role that he played that I enjoyed the most was the janitor in Joe Dirt.
I was going to say, was it Joe Dirt? Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's truly
it's
not
so good.
Close. Like,
you're talking to my man all wrong.
Yes. The fucking scene with the soldering iron.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good, man.
He's the best.
Imagine that dumb movie. Like that's the one where he just overacted to a point where it's like, this guy's a legend.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Just a fucking legend. John Turturro's been in everything. What hasn't he been in?
Bro, him as the Jesus in the
Big Lebowski
is just like an all-timer for me.
That one was great.
I dressed up as that many years ago.
Did you?
Yeah, it was great.
Let's go.
Got a picture handy?
Had the pinky ring, the whole deal.
You strike me as a big Lebowski fan. That's a compliment.
Thanks,
not enough Lebowski fans out there for sure. Conrad's never seen it. That I can guarantee that.
I mean, I think I've seen it in like passing, but like no, I didn't. I don't remember.
You would like it.
I don't remember.
You would like the dude. You kind of. You got some dude-esque vibes.
Definitely, El Duderino.
Yeah.
There's like a 90% chance I wouldn't like.
No, I think you would like it. I mean, now you've determined yourself not to like it, but like, John Goodman was.
If
legendary.
I don't remember it, and I'm
God.
pretty sure I saw it in passing,
Market
I
zero.
Like it.
I don't know.
By the way, dude, Chinaman is not the proper nomenclature. He stops his like weird racist rant to say that. It's just he's so funny in that.
It's great. We've really derailed. All right, one last thing to talk about before we get out of here. I'm curious to hear where you're at on this one, Jesse. In Florida yesterday, a 340 person. Oh my God!
So
just look up. A 340 person tournament got chopped 15 ways.
Not bad.
15 ways. The headline
just made it a satellite at that point.
Yeah.
Basically
Top 5% of the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me guess, I got an even chop 15 ways.
I'm gonna look into it. It says you might just recognize one of the players involved from a pretty big controversy a couple years ago. Now I need. Oh, it's Santa.
It's Airball.
No, it's not. It's the bearded wonder. He was the one who won the ladies event
That guy.
a couple years ago. So he was a part of orchestrating this chop.
Wait, which guy won the? Can you show his picture?
Yeah,
Sure.
you just cut to the tweet.
Older guy. He had a white
He's
beard.
dead
That's
center.
why they
You
called
can't
him
miss
beard.
him.
That's why they called him
Santa, or
Santa.
something like that.
Yeah.
See him? You got
Oh,
him?
I'm thinking of a different. There was another guy who won a ladies event who I played with at Borgata. That was a real
Yeah, that guy was like
piece of work.
That guy was like a nerdy white guy with glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when
He
when
was
that
a real
happened.
dirtbag.
Yeah. This is the one that Ebony Kenny put a bounty on, which probably only helped fuel his
Yeah.
path to the victory. He had like a 8K bounty on his head.
This man wasn't bluffing in the first place. You don't
Right.
give them incentive to calm him down.
Yeah, it was interesting. Anyway, so the top 5% of the pool, or of the field rather, chopped, getting $4,461 each.
Okay, so it was even. chop.
Yeah, they agreed to evenly chop the remainder of the price. This is insane.
Amazing.
This is truly insane.
Imagine if you're the short stack. How great that is for you, though.
The short stacks were like, woohoo, let's chop.
No.
Yeah, it has to be.
Well, the short stack's valued pretty highly in ICM. It's the chip leader. Oh no, I guess it's not the chip leader. It's like the mid stacks that are probably doing the best. Because the short stack,
No, you're getting even chopped,
No.
so the short stacks definitely make
Yeah.
the most.
Yeah, right. What do you
Crazy.
mean?
yeah, oh yeah, that's true.
It's absurd.
Their
4K is probably
their stack is worth the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just
yeah.
making the difference between chips and ICM is better for them.
Right. Yeah,
But-
you're correct. You're
yeah.
correct. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this? What's the biggest chop you've ever been a part of?
Heads up.
This guy.
Wow.
Oh, no, I'm
This
sorry.
guy.
I did a 3-way chop online when I was in college.
Pussy.
Yeah.
I did one
And-
at the World Series for 20 dimes.
How many?
What?
Yeah.
How many people?
It was the noon. They have like this.
Oh, the
noon-
daily?
Yeah,
Like
it
the-
was huge.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a 7-way chop.
Yeah. It was at the final table. It was like 5 or 6 ways, something like that.
Was this the daily at the World Series? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I think Ashley also chopped that and got a very favorable.
I wonder if you guys were in the same. I wonder if it was the same.
That would be funny.
right.
She
chopped with Guapo back in the day, but they didn't know each other.
Yeah, those spots are hilarious, man. I remember her. She was at that FT, and the stack distribution was basically like 1, 1, 1, 1, and a guy had 2. So like 1 million, 1 million, 1 million,
Right.
and 2. And they all want to chop, and the guy with 2 is like, they wanted to do an even chop. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. And they all like, not Ashley, but like everyone, yelled at him and called him greedy, which they always do, which is so absurd.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, whatever, man. And then Ashley like doubles through him. And then they're like, all right, now we can do an even chop. And Ashley's like, well, no, I don't want to do an even chop. So they got like mad at Ashley. And then this other guy doubles through Ashley. And then he's like, all right, let's even chop. And then like they're in the room dealing with the payout. And he's like, I want everyone to remember that I was the one who did the even chop. It's like,
That's so good.
buddy, I don't think that's the
You don't get to
the
carry
brag that you think it's
this. You don't
right.
get to carry this goodwill forward.
Yeah.
These guys are going to be down the line. Thinking about the 5K that you saved them.
Yeah. But it's
yeah,
like, besides that guy, probably every single person would have showered the chop when they had the 2.
right.
But they're fully happy to call the other person greedy and
course.
yell
Yeah.
at them.
Like
And,
you're greedy because you want exactly what's entitled to you.
yeah,
It's just
pretty.
insane.
Yeah, exactly. It's so absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my biggest chop ever was 6 ways. It was my first tournament, quote unquote, win at Turning Stone. I got the trophy. We played it out. I got the trophy.
Did you play it out, or did you?
No, we played it out.
Wow.
But it took like 10 hands.
Yeah.
We were all very short.
Right.
Turbo E.
And once you chopped it up, nobody cared.
I cared.
You cared.
I cared a lot.
Yeah.
I was folding hands, so I was trying to get in the mix. I was also on 0 sleep. I stayed up. Lamanna was with me. I stayed up the entire night before playing 2, 5, 10 cash. Got fucking buried, and I didn't have a lot of money at the time, so I ended up chopping this 6 ways, 15K each, which was probably 3x my bankroll. So
Nice.
I think I lost like 3,500 the night before playing like 2, 5, 10, which was a huge chunk of my bankroll. Pepsi Johnny was in the game.
Oh, yeah.
He went to bed at like 2 a.m. asking me if I was going to play the event the next day, wanting to buy a piece. And I was like, I don't know, John. I'm just going to, whatever. 9 a.m. the game breaks. Tournament starts at 11. I'm pounding Red Bulls.
Yeah.
LaManna's with me on break. He's trying to get me all fueled up with caffeine, just
by the end of it,
sides.
he was so delirious and like slurring his speech because he was so drunk. I'm like, or because he was so tired. I'm like, this is what it's like if Berkey was drunk. I'm like, finally, I always wanted to get drunk with Berkey. This is
got
what
a
it's
window
like.
into his soul for once.
I was like,
He was
a
being
Looney
funny.
Tune.
It was amazing.
I was a Looney Tune. I'm like holding the trophy in the room, and I can't get my words out. Like I'm speaking slowly, and I'm slurring. LaManna's just dying laughing.
Yeah, I'm just like, holy shit.
But yeah, at the time, like it was a huge score. So to me, like chopping was a no-brainer. There was no pride there where it was like, no, I got to play this out. But it was 60,000 to first.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened if I would have actually played it out and won.
Yeah.
I remember that same trip. I think it was that same trip. It's tough with all the Turning Stone ones, but I ended up putting $2,000 on
The roulette
black.
one? Yeah.
And $100 on 11 because that was my favorite number. And this was I was like trying to get even for the trip or something. I can't remember.
It's probably a different one then because.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But you could only have a max bet of 1,000. So I give $1,000 to LaManna. I go, put it on black. And he's like, are you sure, man? Like, because I'm just trying to break myself at this point. Like, it's like, we're going to fucking Hero or Zero Town right now. And he's like, are you sure? This is so dumb. You're such a fucking idiot. I was like, just put it on black. So we both put the bet down on black. They spin the ball in the roulette wheel, and it flies out.
That's a
and LaManna
sign
goes,
there.
that's a sign!
That's a sign.
Take the bet off! You gotta take the bet off! I go, let it ride!
You won, didn't you?
Let's spin it again. It hits fucking 11 black.
Nice.
Wow. Drills the number.
Yeah. Just like pick up like 7K. We head to Niagara Falls where some real debauchery was had.
Yep.
Wait, what do you mean you picked up 7K?
3,500 for the number.
Oh, you put 3,500.
I put
Put
100
100
on
number, and then he put 2,000 on black.
Yeah.
So he won like 5,500.
5,500 profit, yeah.
Wow, when we talk about little things,
Survivor bias. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I am not, trust me, I've seen it all. I am not of the impression that this isn't some sort of divine intervention that got me here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I got to tell you something, Berkey. The real professionals over here. We did it the old-fashioned, tried and true way by playing craps.
oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say going deep in the main
That's what I
event.
think. Because
That also
the
happened to
old-fashioned
me.
way, just binking millions of dollars into final table.
Yeah, but like, again, that also happened to me. If I don't get 43rd in the main event, I probably never make it.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah.
I just get an infusion of 230,000 or some shit
Yeah.
like that. It's like, I had 50K to my name at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, here, 6x your bankroll.
I'm with you, man.
Okay.
If I never got second in the main, I probably wouldn't have made it either.
Right?
I'd be off doing something way better, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, to be fair, we don't know that this was the best version of us. We just know that this is what it took for us to be in poker.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Jesse, thank you as always for joining us. We're going to be back noon tomorrow with a very special one. JRB is going to be in the building. If you guys have any questions you would like us to fire off to him, please leave them in the comments below, or if you're on X, go ahead and comment on this thread. I'll be sure to get to all of them. It's going to be an incredible interview. I'm going to try to get some real stories out of him. He's a storyteller. He can't help himself. Be sure to tune in for tomorrow's episode, noon Pacific. We'll see you guys all then.
Later,
Peace.
squad.
Peace.